Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smart Women Savvy Money monthly webinar series. My name is Dorinda King, and I am one of the financial advisors here at Urban Wealth Management, where we focus on helping our clients get their financial lives in gear. If you are tuning in for the first time, thank you so much for taking time out of what is presumably a busy day to join us today. And if you are a returning listener, thank you to you as well for taking the time to join us yet again. For those of you who are new listeners, our webinars provide both financial as well as lifestyle information. We host them 11 times out of the year. The only month that we don't host them is during the month of December. And if you want to find out more information about our webinars or any other resources that are available to you, you can just simply go to our website. And Angie, can you stop sharing for a second? I'm going to go ahead and just take them to our website. Okay, awesome.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And so you can just simply go to our website and click on the menus tab. And then you can scroll down to where it says blog events and media. And you will see first up is our blog section. They are written by our advisors as well as by our guest host. And you can see for the month of September, we actually have 3. The most recent one written by our very own Renee Norse on what you need to know about health savings accounts or HSAs for 2022. I also wrote a blog on the moratorium on student loans and the status of student loan forgiveness. And then our speaker, who I'm going to introduce momentarily, has also written a blog entitled, "Is Your Brain as Healthy as It Can Be?" So we are constantly adding content that we believe is relevant and beneficial to you and your respective families. And so we encourage you to check back regularly. And then to find out information about our webinars, you can just simply click on our webinar tab. And for example, you can see that next month we'll have Ms. Janice Cohen presenting and sharing some valuable information on reverse mortgages. Then you can also scroll down and see all of our past webinars. And if you find one that is of interest to you, you can simply click on it and access a recording of it. And then, of course, today you'll see a webinar which is going to be on how to keep your brain healthy. And so I think that that is a perfect segue into introducing our speaker today. And you can go ahead and take it over again, Angie. But introducing our speaker today, Ms. Angie Ye of Alzheimer's Los Angeles. Angie holds multiple degrees in aging studies, including the accommodation and prevention of dementia. She has dedicated her entire working life to working with senior adults and their families. And she is currently the senior manager of community education at Alzheimer's Los Angeles. And today she's going to share some tips on how we can age gracefully, as well as how to create and maintain healthy habits, bodies, and brains. And so without further ado, welcome, Angie. Thank you so much for being here today. And you can go ahead and take it over.
All right. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I apologize. My dogs are barking just a little bit. They'll settle down very quickly. While I'm getting my presentation ready, let me go ahead and share that slideshow. There you go. Can everyone see this? My slides?
Yes.
Looks good. Great. Thank you. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. And so, yes, I am from Alzheimer's Los Angeles, and I'm very excited to be here today with everyone. And I hope everyone has a great time learning how we can keep our brains just a little bit healthier. So before we begin, I want to mention that this material was produced in part with funding from Los Angeles County Department of Public Health through an agreement with the California Department of Public Health. And so now let's talk a little bit about what we will be covering today. We'll be identifying 3 things we can control to affect the health of our brains. We'll be identifying activities that we can enjoy doing, which will help keep our brains healthy. And we will also identify the connection between managing our other diseases and our brain health. And finally, we will understand the importance of being able to identify the warning signs of Alzheimer's and other related dementias, making sure that we talk to our doctors whenever we have any concerns. So, what does the brain do? I want to emphasize that our brains are amazing organs. They work 24/7 a day, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our brains never stop working. So have you ever thought about what your brain does for you? It allows you to walk, talk, think, eat, breathe, remember things, and even helps you make decisions. Different parts of the brain are responsible for these different abilities that we have. Having a healthy brain means that we have the ability to think, learn new things, remember, and it allows us to function well in our everyday life and to work. Your brain works throughout your life to control the functions of your body, like breathing. It keeps your heart beating and even tells your stomach when it's time to eat. So I apologize. I have to admit some people into the room. All right, great. Thank you for those of us who are just hopping on. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about how to keep our brains healthy today. So now that we know what our brain does, let's talk a little bit about the risk factors for Alzheimer's and other related dementias. As you can see here, there are risk factors that we've separated into 2 categories. Factors that we cannot control and factors that we do have some control over. So let's look at the factors we can't control. Luckily, it's a shorter list than the factors that we can control. So the factors that we cannot control are age, gender, and genetics. So it's a fact that everyone ages. And the reality is, as we grow older, we are at a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. But it's really important to emphasize that Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. So that means that growing older does not also guarantee that you will get Alzheimer's. So my grandmother, for example, she is 94. Her memory is really sharp. She's always reminding me of things. And so it really isn't just an age factor, though it is something that we want to keep in mind of. Next, let's talk about gender. So nearly 2/3 of all people living with Alzheimer's disease are women. And we are unsure of why that is. It could be just in general because women tend to live longer than men. And looking at age as a factor, that could also be why more women are living with Alzheimer's disease compared to men. And finally, genetics. So there is a gene called APOE4, which is associated with but does not predict Alzheimer's. And so a lot of times, it is something that does play a role. And in order to find out whether or not you have the gene, you have to go see a doctor, or specifically your neurologist or your doctor that will be able to help get a genetic test done. And of course, genetics does play a role, but it doesn't always, it's also not something that determines whether or not you get Alzheimer's disease. And so another example that I always like to use is breast cancer. Someone who has a family member who has had breast cancer, it does not always mean that this individual will get breast cancer, though their risk will be slightly higher. But again, it's not a guarantee. So of course, there are many other risk factors that we can actually have a chance to control. So for instance, head injuries. We do hear that a lot of young men, especially men who are in the NFL, that they do show signs of dementia at an earlier stage or earlier age, simply because of the injuries they've sustained throughout their career playing football. And so we want to make sure that we are wearing helmets when necessary, making sure that we have the hallway and restrooms lit properly, especially when we're waking up in the middle of the night to use the restrooms. We're not falling or tripping. So there are other conditions in the body like high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, and stress that can be controlled with medication. Healthy lifestyle choices such as diet, exercise, and not smoking, as well as other interventions. So when it comes to all of these things, it really goes back to making sure that we are aware of our general health conditions, and that we're talking to our doctors and looking for ways to help reduce some of these risk factors for Alzheimer's and other related dementias. So in my next slide, I want to also share that brain health is a lifelong pursuit. It's never too early or too late to start being mindful of our brain health. So in our next slides, I will be sharing tips with you that can help you maintain your brain health so it's as healthy as possible. It is important to note that maintaining a healthy brain isn't something that we only need to work on for a day or two, or for a week even. This is something that is lifelong. We need to be thinking about what is good for our brains, not just once in a while or for a short period of time, because our brains work for us our entire lives. So we really need to do our best to keep it healthy. And now I'm going to be talking about tips to keep your brain healthy. And as we go through some of these tips, I'd like everyone to think about how you can use some of these tips in your own life, kind of incorporate them into your daily routine. And as we discuss these tips, think about which of these are useful for you and which tips would be easiest for you to incorporate into your life. All right, so luckily, there are many things we can do to keep our brains healthy. Today, we're going to just focus on 5 of these things. So we can see moving our bodies as one of them, eating healthy meals, being social, exercising our brains, and managing other diseases. So these are things that are fairly easy to address and kind of work on throughout our daily lives. So the first thing that we want to look at is moving our bodies, exercising. I want to ask everyone a quick question. Feel free to type in chat or unmute your mic if you want to raise your hand to share. But why do you think moving your body is important for a healthy brain? So let's go ahead and see what you guys think. So let me see the chat. All right. Someone mentioned blood circulation. Absolutely. I see oxygen circulation. Right. Does anyone else want to take a guess or share what they know? Coordination. It produces endorphins. And there's a relation between kinesthetics and learning. All right. So thank you everyone that participated. And these are absolutely, I see also sleeping better. That's also something that's why it's important for us to move our bodies, to lower the risk of disease. And so, yeah, when we move, we get our body to pump blood to our heart, to our brain. It helps boost the connection of new connections amongst brain cells. It also helps keep our moods better and sleeps better, like someone said as well. And it also helps reduce our stress. So that's why moving is so important. And so my next question to everyone is, what are some activities you do that require you to move your body? So let's go ahead and see what everyone has shared. So what's something you do? So um, someone has said walking. That's a great exercise. And so walking is something that we can all incorporate into our daily lives, whether we walk for 10 minutes, for 30 minutes. Yoga is also really great. We can do some walking, light exercise in the morning after we wake up, or maybe just around bedtime to tire ourselves out. Pilates, I agree, are great. And like another person also likes to do yoga. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, really, it's about moving. So whatever you do, however you do it, the most important thing is that you just move. Swimming is also really good, especially as the weather still remains pretty warm, pretty hot. I see dancing as also a activity of choice. Walking the dog. I'm sure the dogs also appreciate being able to go out on a walk. So like we share here, you can take the stairs instead of the elevator. You can walk around the block, ride a bike. Like someone else said, dancing and playing basketball. There's so many things that we can do, and all these different types, even just sitting at your chair and kicking your legs, right? Moving around a little bit. Any movement is better than none at all. And so for those of us who aren't doing much, really look at the little small things, especially for as we're all sharing ideas on what to do or what we already do, we can kind of take inspiration from each other, right? So maybe parking the car when you're going to the market, park it a little bit farther than you normally would, so you can walk a little bit more to the entrance. You can take the stairs. And so the most effective movement really is exercise that gets your heart pumping. So this is also called cardio or aerobic exercises. These exercises help you break out into a light sweat. So they're good for your heart, and that means good for your brain. So these exercises, like we were talking about, really require to walk a little bit faster. You're dancing, you're biking, you're playing basketball. And so ultimately, ideally, we can start with a quick 10-minute exercise, right? But slowly build up to a 30-minute exercise routine. And so even 30 minutes of aerobic activity most days of the week, really, that's generally about 5 days out of the week, can really help lower our risk for Alzheimer's. It can really be good for us, just for our bodies as well. And these activities help pump your heart and gets you moving. And so it's never too late to start incorporating these little activities into your day. So let's look at what, if we want to get started, let's look at some locations to exercise. And so, yeah, even starting in your home, like I said, even sitting in your chair, you can move a little bit. You can look at walking around your living room. You can look at walking around your neighborhood. You can put on YouTube and watch some exercise videos and follow along. And so you're just breaking out into that light sweat. You can, if you live near a school, you can go to a local school and kind of walk around the track. You can go to local parks. And if you're feeling comfortable, you can go to a gym, workout studios. These are places that you can exercise at. And sometimes with others, that's also a very good way to have a social activity. So our communities really give us more options to exercise than we might know. So take time to research into what's around your neighborhood and explore what's already available. So that way, if you have the opportunity, you can even take young children to the park or around the block. Really find a exercise buddy to work out with. You can enjoy quality time together. And I have, before we go on to the next question, I want to ask, what is one exercise that you can add into your life that we've talked about today that you might take up or explore? All right, so it looks like someone would like to look into biking. So that could be something definitely fun, especially on the weekends. You can go out for a nice bike ride, something new. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to challenge themselves to adopt? And looks like someone would like to start dancing. And yeah, that's a great idea. I think even once a week where you follow along on YouTube, that would be great. You can look into taking dance lessons if that's something that interests you. These are all great things for our brain. All right, so let's go ahead. So I'd like everyone to continue to think about what can help you keep moving. And we're going to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So the next tip that we'd like to talk about is eating healthy. So eating healthy and balanced meals can really help keep our brains healthy. As they say, a healthy heart equals a healthy brain. And so let's see, what are all the wonderful, delicious, and colorful foods that we can eat. So what we eat really does affect everything, our bodies, our brains. And let's look into what are some options for us to eat healthy. So, eating unhealthy foods can often cause excess body weight, high cholesterol, and fats in the blood. It can cause diabetes and high blood pressure. And so, this slide gives us examples of the kinds of foods that we can eat to keep us healthy, both our heart and our brain. And so, it is important to look at what are some things that you like and what are some things that you haven't tried before that you'd like to incorporate? Because eating lots of different kinds of foods that have lots of different colors is a great way to eat healthy. The reason colorful foods are good for you is because they are filled with different kinds of vitamins and minerals, and having different kinds of vitamins and minerals in your body helps your brain work better. While all fruits are good for you, berries are especially good for your brain because they have antioxidants. It's believed that antioxidants protect the brain. Vegetables are good for you for many of the same reasons. And remember that the darker the color, the better they are. Well, better they are for you. So while our bodies do need fat, some kinds are better than others. So we want to try to limit food that contain quote unquote bad fats. So butter, beef, and whole milk. These products are usually bad for us because of the saturated fats that they contain. Also, limit fried foods and processed snack foods that contain trans fat, such as found in potato chips. So, good fats for us, these fats are found in nuts, avocados, and fish, which can help our body lower its cholesterol level, and that results in a healthy brain. So many of us grew up eating white bread and white rice. So maybe as an alternative, we can look into whole grains that can be healthier for our bodies and our brains. For whole grain foods, look for labels that tell you when the food is made from whole grains. So I want to ask another question for everyone. So what do you like to eat that is good for your brain? So what's something that you like to eat that's already on this list, such as berries, leafy greens, vegetables, good fats, whole grains? What's something that you enjoy that's already on this list? And what's one new food that you would be willing to try? So, for example, when cooking foods that are traditionally high in sodium, we can be mindful of how much salt we use and look for lower sodium alternatives. We can limit the amount of rice we eat during a meal, which helps us with our healthy brain, our goals, healthy brain goals. So let's see, what's something everyone here likes to eat? And a friend of mine also shared it's okay to eat some of these fried things from time to time. Again, all in moderation. She and her husband actually, instead of ordering two portions, they will share and split the French fries that they eat when they get in and out. So little changes like that can actually help us limit some of these quote unquote bad foods, right? And that's the goal for us, really. It's to reduce and replace with a little bit more healthier foods for us. So someone has shared that they like to enjoy hummus with cucumbers and peppers. That actually sounds really good. That's something I might try out because you get the crunch from the cucumbers crunch from the peppers and the creaminess from the hummus. That's a great way to replace maybe a traditional cracker or other types of chips. So they also like to eat watermelon salad with radishes, avocados, feta cheese, and cakes. So yes, I agree. That does sound quite yum. So yeah, we can always look at Cokes and Cokes. And someone else has shared organic colored greens with hummus. So these are all good ways we can look at replacing things that we normally would eat and having substitutes. So apples and peanut butter. Oh, okay. So it's really just cucumbers. Excellent. Yeah, because I was about to say Cokes might not always be the healthiest, but maybe with moderation, sometimes we just need that a little bit of that sugar, right? So looking into some things that we can replace will always be good for us and helps keep our brains healthy. Excellent. So let's move on to the next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about making healthier choices. So here are some suggestions to help you make healthier choices. So small changes to the way that we eat can have a big impact in the long term. So think about someone who drinks one soda a day. If they switch to water instead, that would be a huge reduction in sugar, especially throughout the year. So eating healthier will mean trying some new things and seeing what you like. You could consider scheduling a specific day when you're going to eat more healthy proteins like fish or beans. So maybe 1 or 2 days out of the week to start where you're going to eat some more salads or more fruits. Of course, the main point here is to eat sugars and fats in moderation. You don't have to get rid of them completely. And it's important to remember that balance is important. So I think it's a good idea to incorporate some of this, the suggestions that we see in chat, such as having a snack, an apple for a snack, as opposed to a bag of chips. Maybe some cucumbers if you're looking for that crunch. And so I'd like to ask everyone, what is one change you can consider making to eat healthier? So please go ahead and type your answers in chat. And in the meanwhile, I will go ahead and read off the list, which is to drink water instead of soda. We can eat a whole fruit instead of drinking juice. Instead of ordering a combo meal with burgers, fries, and a soft drink, maybe we get rid of the soft drink and really just eat the burger and fries, or like I showed about my friend, maybe split it with someone else. Say no to the special sauce and try to cut back on using mayo. And instead of whole milk, maybe drinking 2% or 1% to start. So those are all ways that can help us make changes to eat healthier. So does anyone have any ideas on what their plan is to eat healthier? Oh, so I see that instead of drinking milk or cow's milk, maybe switching to almond or oat milk might be a great idea too. Absolutely. Oh, I like this one too. Take half of the bun off a burger. So eating an open-faced sandwich, that's an excellent idea too, right? You're cutting out some of that carbs. Let's see. Substitute wine at night with peppermint tea. Excellent. That's a good idea. Drinking coconut milk. And oh, I love this comment too. So this is all great. I'm glad this is all great information. And yes, we can understand and take it all in, absorb it, and really looking at how we can modify and tweak our daily lives. That's a great way to start. I love all the suggestions you guys are all giving to each other. So someone suggested meatless Mondays. That's an excellent idea where it's one day out of the week where you are eating more of those fruits and vegetables. Looking at gluten-free bread, ginger tea also, so it takes some getting used to, but this individual has found it makes a big difference over time. Drinking carrot juice is a great way to get your intake of vegetables, especially ones that you make yourself. It's much better when it's less processed. So yeah, excellent. I love all of the ideas. So it really making healthier choices really doesn't need to be a solo adventure, right? You can bring your friends in, you can bring your family members in, you can kind of create a list of things, new foods that you want to try that maybe you've never had the time to try. Now can be a great time to make some food and kind of share with some fruit salads, some new vegetable salads, and share that with your family members. So excellent. Thank you. So, where to find brain healthy foods? So we can look at grocery stores. This also includes 99-cent stores, farmers markets. So in Central Avenue Farmers Market, you can look at Crenshaw Farmers Market. Depending on where you're living, you can go ahead and look online for some local stores, local farmers markets, their times, and really look at local resources to help find these healthy foods right in your neighborhood. So when you go to the market, here's another great tip. And this is something I personally have to work on. When you go to the market to do your shopping, make sure you're not hungry. Make sure you have a snack beforehand because hungry shoppers often buy unhealthy foods. So this really is a personal experience where when I'm hungry, I just go into the market and I just pick anything that I'm craving. I'm not really stopping to think whether or not this is something I really need. I just know that, hey, I'm hungry. I want some pizza or I want some burgers, and that's what I'm going to be getting. So remember that farmers markets have fresh, colorful, and delicious food. So again, consider trying something new, and before you know it, you might be finding a new favorite dish of yours. So we also have resources to access healthy food. Sometimes healthier foods can be more expensive. And so if this is a barrier for you, California's CalFresh program can help. If you need help thinking of ideas too for how to cook healthy and delicious traditional meals, you can visit California Champions. So that's CA Champions for Change.cdph.ca.gov. So they have this website that they can give you some recipes to modify some traditional favorites. And of course, you can also contact us at Alzheimer's Los Angeles to have this information mailed out to you. So next, we're going to be talking about the importance of social engagement. Social engagement means being around other people and finding ways to connect with others. So this can happen when we invite people over to our house, when we meet people through church, when we play sports, when we participate in really any activity that requires connecting with other people. So why is staying socially engaged important? People who are lonely or socially isolated may get less exercise. They might drink too much alcohol. They might smoke. They often don't sleep well, which this can all increase the risk of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure, and other serious conditions. A lot of it, which, like I mentioned before, can affect our brain health. Social isolation and loneliness may be bad for brain health because it has been linked to the brain not working as well, or to higher risk for are having higher risk for dementia, including and especially for Alzheimer's disease. And I always like to I joke a little bit about that next time someone says, oh, you're gossiping too much, you can say you're actually working on your brain health, because this is something that social communication, talking with others, this is something that can really benefit us in reducing our risk for Alzheimer's disease. So here are some examples of social engagement. And before we go through this list, I do want to ask everyone, how do you try to stay socially engaged? I know it's been a little bit difficult given the past almost 2 years now. We have been more isolated in that sense. But what are some things that you guys have done to modify how you normally stay socially engaged? So feel free to type that in chat. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing. I know some people will have weekly Zoom meetings with their family members. So that's also something that helps keep people socially engaged. I think joining classes like these can also really help keep us socially engaged. So, oh, I like this. So this individual says that they call someone different every day to check in on them. I like that because This way you are always having a new interesting conversations. You're talking to people, you have a different routine daily. Someone else has shared that they are in a book club. That's excellent. Doing some reading is great for us. And so, yeah, I'd like everyone to think a little bit about what their social engagement looks like. Learn about programs in your neighborhood. So, through nonprofits, parks, libraries, churches, other service agencies, you can volunteer, use your talents, your interests, your passions to help others. Maybe it's volunteering at an animal shelter, maybe it's volunteering to work with children, older adults. Maybe you can attend a family or community event, go on trips if you're comfortable. You can go to parties, join a hiking group, or join a group that shares a common interest with you. You can start talking to your neighbors, meeting your neighbors, especially if you haven't already done so. You can stay connected with family and friends through video chats, emails, phone calls, and social media. If you belong to a church or another religious organization, maybe you can attend either virtually or in person. And it really goes back to having time for these, making time to stay socially engaged. And oh, so perfect. I love that. You can also say hello to the people that you meet on your daily walk. So while you're out there walking, lowering your risk for Alzheimer's disease and keeping your brain healthy, you can also lower it even more by staying socially engaged. So that's an excellent tip. All right. So exercise your brain. What is exercising your brain and why is it important for brain health? So, exercising your brain means doing activities meant to directly improve your memory, how you think through things, and how quickly you learn new things. So, it is important because some studies have shown that some activities may protect the brain by creating a reserve. This helps the brain continue to work even after it is damaged from a condition such as Alzheimer's disease. So, what are some brain exercises? So, this slide has some examples of how you can exercise your brain. And before we go through them, can you think of something fun that would help you exercise your brain? So please go ahead and type that your answers in chat. And I know book club, for instance, can be a fun way to exercise our brains. So let's see what else everyone else does. So Scrabble or board games, absolutely. It's a good challenge to our brains and it can be a fun social event. Is there anything else that anyone here does? Crossword puzzles, absolutely. Anything else before I go through the list? All right, so and don't be shy. Please continue to type in chat. I'll be happy to learn what everyone's doing. And so, some other things that we can do in addition to playing board games and doing crossword puzzles really is to look at changing our routine. So, for instance, you can take a new street when you're going home, even using your dominant hand. Well, for instance, if you brush your teeth with your right hand every day, make sure that I challenge you all to make sure tonight when you're brushing your teeth before bed to use your left hand and try to see how well you brush with your non-dominant hand. And so that way you can learn new things. You're still changing up your routine. Let's say you're brushing your hair with your left hand. Go ahead and try brushing your hair with your right hand, and so on and so forth. And so other things that we can do, like we mentioned, it's to read a book, listen to an audiobook. Your local library actually provides a lot of free access to audiobooks. I believe there's an app called Libby that allows you to go on, it's free to rent, to borrow a library book. You can meditate. You can learn breathing exercises to relieve stress. You can learn a new craft. So if you've always wanted to learn how to sew, you can take up a sewing as your new activity, your hobby, and you can go join a sewing club You can cook, you can get into gardening, you can learn a new skill such as yoga and dancing, which I did see some of us say that they would like to do. You can take a class to learn new things, even learning a new language. You can go on YouTube, you can socialize, even making new friends. And your local library really even has great language classes that you can take for free. So these are all things that can help us keep our brains healthy, exercising. And I do see that someone had also mentioned learning a new language. And they also enjoy checkbook balancing to help keep their brains working out and exercised. So, like I mentioned with the library, there are local resources that are available to us. This is just one example, which is the Los Angeles Public Library. So they have books, they have adult literacy, and they have tech to go, which if you need to borrow a laptop, borrow any types of technology, they will be able to lend that out. And so I encourage everyone to learn about services that you might not have used yet, especially at your local community centers, your libraries. And there's just so many things out there that we haven't even tapped into yet. So let's talk about managing other diseases. So diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure can really hurt our brain health. So it's important to know that if you have these diseases, that you're taking or putting effort into maintaining your body and keeping these diseases under control. So it's important to go to your doctor for regular checkups to check in on things and just making sure that you're staying healthy. Kind of like our cars, right? We always have to take it to the mechanic here and there just for a tune up, just to make sure everything's running smoothly. When the when the doctor checks your blood pressure, ask questions until you understand what the numbers mean. If you're going into your doctor's appointment and they tell you, oh, your blood pressure and so, and you're not really understanding whether these numbers are good or not, ask your doctor for support. Maintaining good numbers through prevention or medications help keep your brain healthy. Keeping a healthy weight is also something very important to prevent or control diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressure. So this can be done by doing the tips that we've talked about: eating healthy, exercising, even the time that you eat, making sure that you're just not snacking throughout the day anytime you feel like it, right? So eating right and moving your body can really help benefit your brain health. So with diabetes, it can increase your risk for stroke and heart attack. It can damage blood vessels throughout your body, which this also includes your brain. It may also increase your risk for memory problems and Alzheimer's disease. For high blood pressure can lead to stroke and blood vessel changes related to dementia. It can increase risk of plaque or fat collecting in arteries. And high blood pressure rates among seniors in LA County is very high. More than half of Latino and African American seniors have high blood pressure. So for heart disease, there's plaque buildup in the arteries that increase both the risk of heart disease and stroke. So for Latinos and African Americans, especially, are at an increased risk of developing diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and obesity at younger ages. So these are things that we do want to keep in mind of. I know this is something that as we age, we might not feel as this might not take as much. It's not as important for us, but in fact, it actually is quite the opposite. We do have to make sure that as we age, our overall health is still being maintained. So here are some other tips that can help. Try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Getting uninterrupted sleep is very important for our brain health. Less than 6 hours of sleep can affect our memory. So insufficient or disrupted sleep can interfere with our memory as well. So some things that we can do to make sure that we are not sleeping or we're not interrupting our sleep is to not have screen time an hour before going to bed. So this means no TV, no being on your phone. This is particularly difficult for me and something that I have to work on. So I completely understand for anyone here that feels like, I'm having trouble sleeping. And another thing that we can try to do is keep the room as dark as possible. You can also get help if you are experiencing depression. You can call the LA Department of Mental Health helpline, which is 800-854-7771. That's 800-854-7771. Also, stop smoking. Smoking causes so much damage to your heart, lungs, and brain. California offers a free helpline. That's 1-800-NO-BUTTS. That's NOBUTTS. And also their website, nobutts.org, can help us quit smoking. Also, drink moderate amounts of alcohol. The US dietary guideline recommends 1 or fewer drinks each day for women and 2 or fewer drinks each day for men. So for the individual who shared swapping out wine for tea, that's a great idea, especially if you want to lower the amount of alcohol consumption that we have. And of course, we've talked a lot today about ways that we can include healthy choices in our lives to improve our brain health. So I really want to go ahead and do a quick poll question that is going to pop up right now. So if you can please just answer the question here. So the question here is, what are some of the barriers you face in implementing these brain health activities and behaviors? So A, you can't afford it. B, you don't have the time. C, you didn't know what to do before. D, you don't feel safe. Or E, none of the above, you are ready to implement some of these changes. So I'll go ahead and give everyone some time to answer. And this is all anonymous. I can't see who's answering any which way. And it's just helpful for us to know how we can continue to help support one another in making these healthy changes, which, like I mentioned before, it's a difficult thing, right? Sometimes we don't have a lot of time. Sometimes we don't have the right support system. Sometimes we don't feel like we're ready. And so it's always nice to talk about it. All right, I'll give everyone a couple more seconds to answer for anyone who hasn't answered yet. Okay, let's do 10 more seconds. All right, perfect. Thank you all for answering. It's really helpful and really appreciated. I'm going to end that.
Uh-huh. I thought you would find this.
Go ahead and end the poll. So next, sorry. Okay, there we go. So let's see. Next, let's talk a little bit about early detection. So now that you've learned some tips to keeping your brain healthy, we also want to emphasize the importance of early detection when it comes to Alzheimer's and other related dementias. So many people actually often ignore the first signs of Alzheimer's and don't see a doctor until the disease is far more progressed. It is important to talk to your family and doctor if you're showing or experiencing any of these signs, or someone you care about is showing or experiencing these warning signs. So the first sign of or there's 10 signs. So the first one is feeling less able to do day-to-day activities. So they're having more trouble with things that they normally enjoy. Number 2 is misplacing or losing things more often. Number 3 is having trouble with reading, writing, following conversations. So if you're noticing that they're repeating things a little bit more or just not remembering what was just said, just having more difficulty with things that they're reading or writing. They are experiencing more withdrawal from family, friends, or social activities. A lot of times people living with dementia do know that, I made a mistake in what I'm saying, and they end up having more anxiety and stress from these social activities. Maybe this individual might need more reminders, day-to-day or reminders to stay organized. They're having trouble managing finances and paying bills. There might be changes in their moods, so increasing anger, anxiety, or sadness, again, from frustration. They might be repeating questions or stories, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, and getting lost going to familiar roads, unfamiliar roads or paths. And you're starting to hear that other individuals have more concerns about changes to your memory, or maybe you're having more concerns about changes to their memory. So these are things that we have to keep an eye on and make sure that we're talking to our doctors, especially particularly a neurologist, when it comes to noticing some of these warning signs. So, importance of early detection, advocate for yourself and find a doctor that you can trust. Do not be afraid to look for second opinions. Sometimes we might have a history of poor treatment within our community, or maybe there might be immigration status concerns or language barriers. Going to the doctor early will allow you and your family to be able to make informed decisions about the future and get the best possible care. Don't be afraid to share your concerns with your doctor, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So, if you are worried about your own memory or maybe a family member's memory, would you know where to go? So, this will also be a poll question. I'm going to go ahead and share this. So, the question is, let's say you are concerned about your memory or the memory of another family member or a friend or a neighbor. Do you have the resources? Do you know a doctor that you can rely on? Do you have a friend that can find, recommend another doctor or a social worker, something, or individuals that would be able to help you get a diagnosis or just get your questions answered? So I'll give everyone about 30 more seconds to answer. And don't worry, there are no right or wrong answers to any of these poll questions. Right? We'll give everyone 10 more seconds left. All right. Thank you everyone for responding. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. So let's talk a little bit about, for those of us who wouldn't know where to go, or for those of us who do know where to go, but maybe would like more additional support, here are two local resources that are available for everyone who lives in LA County, regardless of immigration status, and that can help you if you are worried about your brain. And of course, you can also contact Alzheimer's Los Angeles. We are more than happy to answer any question you might have, help you find doctors, help you find resources, especially for those of us who might already be caring for someone living with dementia or just have a suspicion. We'll be more than happy to have our social workers help you and create a guide or a roadmap, a plan to help plan for the future. So My Health LA, this is a program that can also help you access a regular doctor for more regular checkups. They are a no-cost healthcare program for low-income residents of LA County who do not have health insurance. We also have another resource, which is with Rancho Los Amigos. And their mission is to improve healthcare delivery and quality of life for both patients with Alzheimer's disease or people living with Alzheimer's and other dementias, as well as their families and caregivers. And so they have bilingual neurologists that can actually help diagnose Alzheimer's and other related dementias. And on a personal note, I actually do have a lot of families that I was able to connect to Rancho Los Amigos just for a second opinion or a more formal diagnosis, and they've always been really great. So these are two resources that you are more than welcome to access if you are worried about your brain health. And so let's talk about steps to success. We've covered a lot today, and I'd like you all to think about something you can actually do and implement to help keep your brain healthy. Identify some things that you can actually incorporate into your daily life. Ask yourself what is realistic, and it's okay if you have to start small. Making a plan for how you will get started can help you actually make it happen. So if your plan doesn't work out exactly as how you thought it would, it's okay. Just keep at it. There is no quick fix, and brain health is, like I said, a lifelong pursuit. Be careful of things that sound too good to be true, such as, hey, if you buy this book, if you it'll help improve your memory in 30 minutes, or eat this great, take all the coconut oil you can find and eat this food and it'll be the best thing for your brain. And in actuality, if things were that easy, we would all be doing it. And so before you start any new exercise or diet, be sure to consult with your doctor to make sure that these changes are appropriate for you. Just like I might be allergic to something you're not allergic to, just like some health benefits might be beneficial for me, but maybe not as beneficial for you. Everyone is going to be different. And so it's really important to talk to your doctor to make sure that anything new you want to incorporate can be modified for you. And remember, it's never too late to start. Your brain will appreciate anything that you do to help it. And so another thing that we can do is get support. You want to find a partner, look at senior centers, local colleges and universities, healthy aging and volunteer agencies, maybe even maintaining church connections, and find a doctor that will help advocate for you. And of course, most importantly, advocate for yourself too, because I always say that doctors are only human and they only know what you tell them. So make sure that you're also keeping a active eye on your brain health. And so at Alzheimer's Los Angeles, we are committed to helping you navigate through your Alzheimer's journey. If you are living with memory loss, Alzheimer's, or another related dementia, and you would like to connect with us, please feel free to reach out. We have our helpline number, which is 844-435-7259. That's 844-435-7259. We also have additional classes that can help talk a little bit more about memory loss and Alzheimer's. And we're hoping to have in-person classes becoming available in the future. Currently, right now, everything is online, but sometimes that does help make things a little bit more accessible too. So we have additional workshops and presentations that we'll be happy to provide to you. And of course, if you have any questions or need any support, please feel free to reach out, and we'll be happy to help. So I have one last poll question. Thank you all for your time, which is, I learned something useful in this event on a scale of 1 to 8. So hopefully you all found something useful and something that you can take away from this. And I really do truly appreciate everyone's time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but you can go ahead and answer in the poll. And again, it's completely anonymous. I don't know who's saying what, especially for this one, right? So don't worry. Thank you all. And I'll be here to answer any questions if anyone has it. Any questions, that is.
Wow.
Thank you all for your time.
That was amazing, insightful. Thank you so much, Angie, for sharing that wealth of information. Based on how engaged all of our listeners were and how interactive they were in the chat, I'm assuming that there are probably some questions out there. So as you already mentioned, if you all do have any questions, go ahead and start typing them in the chat box. We're right at time, but Angie will try to answer a few of those questions if you have any. And while we're waiting for you guys to go ahead and add them, I'll kick it off. Angie, you mentioned that there was a genetic testing that we can request to find out if we're at high risk for Alzheimer's. I think you said, was it APOE4? Was that it?
Yes. So this is something that you can speak to your doctor about, really to if you are concerned. But like I always mention, when it comes to genetics, it's not something that guarantees you will have a higher risk if you have this genetic component, but it does not mean that you will for sure have Alzheimer's disease. So it is a lot of it really goes back to your overall lifestyle. A lot of times you have ways to help reduce your risk for Alzheimer's disease, and it's a little bit kind of like smoking. I mean, well, smoking and lung cancer, the connection between that, where if you smoke, we know that you have a higher risk for lung cancer, but there's also individuals who don't smoke that still end up developing lung cancer. And comparatively, there's people that do smoke that never get lung cancer. So when it comes to, oh yes, I will be more than happy to share the name of that gene. It is, let me go ahead and I'll copy and paste that. Just 1 second, please. But it really goes back to, let me stop. Actually, let me end my slideshow. But it is APOE4.
Linda, I don't know how it is that your screen is being shared. Are you seeing Linda's screen, Angie?
Yes, I'm seeing Linda's screen as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It must have accidentally been shared, but yeah, that is something that you can talk to your doctor about. And so I can give a little bit more information on that. But again, just because someone has the gene does not mean they will necessarily get Alzheimer's. That's something I really need to emphasize, that it's not a guarantee. And so about 25% of people carry one copy of APOE4, and 2 to 3% carry 2 copies. So APOE4 is the strongest risk factor gene for for Alzheimer's disease. Although inheriting APOE4 does not mean a person will definitely develop this disease. So the only way to know if you have the gene is to talk to your doctor to get a test done. But again, I do want to emphasize that there are many other risk factors at play that will raise the risk or heighten the risk of getting Alzheimer's. And that Alzheimer's itself is just one out of a number of different related dementias. So it really goes back to making sure that you're keeping your brains healthy and avoiding a stroke. My grandmother, for instance, she had a stroke at a younger age. My other grandmother, I mean, she had a stroke at a young age or younger age. And so now she is actually showing signs of dementia, which could be vascular dementia related. And so it's not always Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's disease is the biggest, the most common cause of dementia, but it's really not the only one to be aware of. So in general, really making sure that we're sleeping well, that's a big factor. We're sleeping well, we're eating well, we're exercising. Those are the things that we really want to focus on. And of course, making sure that our overall healthy habits are being cared for.
And I know we're a little over, but I will take this last question because I think I'm actually interested in finding out the answer too. And it's given the state of research and technological developments, how hopeful are you that there will be a cure or better treatments developed in our lifetime?
So I will go ahead and answer that, but I also want to answer the question of people without the gene getting Alzheimer's, and that's yes, right? And so because we don't know exactly the cause of Alzheimer's just yet, that is why we don't know how to prevent it completely. So it really goes back to wanting to make sure that we are just keeping our bodies healthy, and in that relation, it helps us keep our brains and our minds healthy as well. There's a lot of factors at play. And so going back to this question, given the state of research and technological developments, how hopeful am I personally? I'm pretty hopeful. I would say that still just to be wary of different things that pop up, especially when you're hearing, oh, I have this treatment or this cure. A lot of times it's easy to say that we know how to cure this disease, but then because it's such a dementia itself is such a large umbrella term for a lot of different things. There's so many diseases that cause dementia that it actually, for me, I personally I'm more focused on how do we make sure people living with dementia are treated equally, are treated with respect. How do we make sure we're maintaining personhood, advocating for them, to make sure that their experience and this journey of dementia is as great as it can be, because we are all, just living, and we just want to make sure that we have as much support in the community, in our families, as a individual who has had family members living with this disease. I really want to make sure we're advocating for that too. I do completely agree that a cure with and more treatments is very important. But in the meantime, we also, as individuals, it helps us to learn a lot about how do we interact and care for a person living with dementia.
Awesome.
Yeah, but hopeful.
Good. Well, thank you again, Angie, for that wealth of information. Very insightful, very informative. And to all of you, we're going to be sending out a replay link that will enable you to access a recording of it and to therefore be able to go back and listen to it again. So again, thank you so much, Angie, and thank you to all of you for tuning in. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of the evening. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.